come once a year.
Yeah.
Chuck Perez, I'm just here as a resident, and I'm asking the town board that if they could draft a letter of support for the Bel Air Mountain Ski Center. I don't know if you're aware, but in the latest state budget, Bel Air was not mentioned. If I'm not mistaken, the proposal specifically mentioned Lake Placid area to get the lion's share of the proposed budget, which I think was $62 million. If anybody is aware of the last go-round when we were left out, Gore got 10,000, Whiteface got 10,000. It was because of public
Million.
what did I say, 1,000? 10 million. Ultimately, as a result of public participation in the process, and a group of private individuals went up to Lake Placid and pled our case, we ultimately got $8 million, which paid for the new gondola. If anybody has not seen it yet, it's operational, and everybody that I've talked to seems to appreciate the fact that it's there. Unfortunately, there does not seem to be a lot of advertising revenue available to promote it. So I'm asking the town board, because if you're not aware, the town of, if I'm not mistaken, it's Essex and North Elba, both have a considerable amount of influence within the Gorda organization. And they both have leverage as to where that money goes. And I don't know if it's possible that the town board could possibly have a representative that might go and sit in on the Order meetings and see that we get our fair share.
Don't we have representatives now from this area?
Well, again, I'm telling you that I know for sure that the town of North Elba and Essex send representatives to the Order meetings on a regular basis.
Besides,
And I'm just saying to get on board. So, again, you can discuss it amongst yourselves. Rob can probably give you more information, but I think that the town needs to get involved and at least request a fair funding for Bel Air. Thank you.
Is there anyone the citizens can call?
We currently have two representatives that sit on the Order board, one being John Parody, the other one being Joe Kelly. They are on a board with 2 votes. They are in the minority. So again, it takes influence outside of the Order board, and again, that's where the town comes in. The town goes there and lobbies, just like anybody else.
Well, again, it's, so this is the governor's budget at this point?
Correct.
So it's
But it's
not.
a line item.
Yeah. So there's other information there too, where I know that the 62 million is really for this university games, world games that they're trying to promote, so they're doing upgrades to a lot of the infrastructure for the Olympic venues in order to host this world championship of winter sports in 2023, I believe. So they've given them, that's where the influx of the majority of the funds came from. I'm in agreement. Again, we can send a resolution, but I don't know if going to Order is the answer. I think going to the governor's office again, with the Office of Division of Budget, is the
I don't
board
have
direct line.
the answer. I'm putting it out there.
Yeah. And
The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
And we've certainly made our case, several times, and I'm waiting to meet Mr. Pratt, who's offered to ski with me, although I can't ski right now with him, but, who's now the president of Order. So we'll pursue. Again, I have the resolution from last year. I can certainly revamp that to, again, we know what we need, and certainly you and I see it up there every weekend, and we were talking about the increase in accidents. Now the problem is becoming space available in lodges. It's just becoming overwhelming. You can't, people are sitting on the stairwells eating their sandwiches, and it's just...
But without a budget to fund this stuff, you're not going to
Correct.
see it correctly.
Correct.
And that's the only point that I'm trying to make.
And again, I know that we have, I think they're figuring that somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 million was maybe slated for Bel Air out of the funding. There's like $16 million going to the 3 ski centers, and we're being told that $6 million of that is supposed to come from Bel Air, and that the way that they purchased the gondola, that there may be funding left over from that original 8 that we got last year that they actually didn't spend the full 8 like the way they financed it. There may be some additional funding, so we got to get more clarification, more detail on this, and I've asked Joe Kelly to provide.
All right, follow it up. Thank you.
Mr. Riccadella.
Page tape.
Oh, you don't need to take this part.
See what you did, Chuck?
Just gonna erase it anyway. You're gonna have to leave some of it probably.
I will get
Doesn't know you.
Depends on who you talk to.
We good to go?
Okay.
Right.
Send it on.
Number one, the taxes on the Emerson, I understand they're in litigation. What is it costing us for the lawyers? How much?
I couldn't give you an exact figure for what it's cost us in the lawyers at this point. I can certainly give you an update on that. I can give you a
Can you
specific
get it
number.
together next meeting?
Yep.
As far as the Williams property in Fox Hollow, that's a 5-acre parcel. And at one time, I wanted to see that connect with, behind Consolidated Laundry, there's 27 acres. And it could be a beautiful travel trailer park, which would bring a lot of people here. And the reason why that flooded in there is because up by Sid Ford's garage, you make a left in there, when his father has his house there, I think Carl Arish has it now. But there's the gravel and sand bank that goes for hundreds of yards that should be dug out of there. And that never would have happened.
Okay. Well,
No, I'm telling you, I can't talk.
Well, Eric can attest to you what actually happened because I don't think it was
I
at
wanna
that. I don't think it was at that location. It was further downstream, correct? Where it jumped
Look,
channel.
this is where it happened, right there.
Okay. Well, we have satellite images that show.
I don't care what you have. Now, also, I'd like to ask Faye a question. This medical center, when is this gonna?
Well, funny you ask, because this morning we hounded out the final contract.
Okay. And
So
could you
it's-
tell us a little bit about what's gonna happen?
Well, basically, it's just it's going to be a community-oriented center. And I can't really say who the people are involved right now because the contract, is not signed yet. We just hounded it out.
And they're gonna have a doctor in there, not
They're
a
gonna be, it's
physician's
gonna be
assistant, a
full
doctor.
medical, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to also be alternative also. And
Alternative
It's going to be mental therapy.
We have a lot of that around here. I'd say 80% of the people in town would use
I'll
it.
bet you a voucher.
Chiropractic. It's going to be a multifaceted center.
And our supervisor.
We're looking at about a month. Again, it's taken some time, but, and really, we had said, I think like months ago, and just everybody gets busy, and they're actually working in the fields right now, so trying to find the time to coordinate with them was a little difficult, but we've got it together, so.
Yeah, and are you working on that now? I see outside they finally.
We
Yep.
did a certain amount of fix-up things on the property that we wanted to be responsible for, and then they're going to be responsible for the inside, what they're going to be doing.
All right.
Build out. So-
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other public comments? Vivian, yes.
I have a question, the grant for the scenic byway, what kind of work are they talking about doing? Or is there something that they normally do for a scenic byway designation, or is there anything the town is obligated to do?
So a lot of it is, it's creation of a document to amend an annexed area for the extension of the Mountain Clothes Scenic Byway. That's quite a portion of that. And that is quite a bit of work, as we know, with the work we put in to get the Catskill Mountain Scenic Byway done and Mountain Clothes Scenic Byway. It's not something you just hand in an application and they give it to you. You have to go up and do a presentation in Albany to the DOT and everything else. Aside from that, it's really about keeping our presence out there and renewing the presence on, web-based information, as well as getting flyers. And there's a number of flyers downstairs that just started coming out for the Catskill Mountain Scenic Byway. Mountain Clothes wants to get that as well. So they actually preceded us, but they're behind us in what we're offering out to the public and getting our name out there, working with tourism boards and so on and so forth. So, and it's really coming in this coordinated effort of scenic byways throughout the region that we feel is going to make us stronger. Again, the more assets that we can provide to somebody or prove to somebody that we have, the stronger we are as a region.
So this is kind of a presentation of our area as being scenic, or is there other things
Yeah.
that are involved?
Well, it's about all the assets. It's be it historical assets, recreational assets, everything cultural around the area, things that we offer. Again, each town, when we did the application, had to submit, like, what are the great things about Shandaken? You know, what do you have in Shandaken that maybe somebody doesn't have? Aside from scenic vistas and places to go.
And each town in that scenic byway does a special event once a year. So it promotes tourism that way, and what's special about that town, which each, you know, like Olive does an event, Shandaken does an event, Margaretville does one, Andes does one, and the other legs will be doing them too, I'm
I mean,
assuming.
ultimately, long-term on this, I think, you know, and there's a larger discussion, and I know tomorrow there's a number of people going up for Catskill Park Awareness Day up to Albany, and it's really about making a louder voice for our region. And there is at least minimal preliminary discussion on trying to figure out some way to create some kind of transportation system to get these people around when they're up here. So if they end up getting off the Trailways bus and they're in Phoenicia, how can they enjoy the asset in Hunter Mountain? How can they get to Catskill Falls if they want to see that? How can they get up to Bel Air? And maybe there's a way that we can work together with the state to create some kind of, and you see this in a lot of other state parks and national parks where they have a busway or a tram that goes around and just circulates the people around to get to the different assets. So, Mr. Riccadella, yes.
Yeah, I forgot, my brother asked me this, he said, who maintains this scenic byway? Who maintains he's been mowing along 28 there, up above the restaurant there, because he said they leave it and nobody,
Well, that's not, the scenic byway isn't an entity that owns
It's not
things.
property.
It's not property,
Not
it's
property.
just promotion.
well, it's state property, I mean.
But are you talking by the Eagle?
Yeah, just down from the Eagle, going towards the restaurant there on that hill. He has somebody mow that, he said that nobody mowed it last year.
He doesn't own that property?
No, it's right on
That's state
That's
land.
DOT.
DOT.
Well, when they're in DOT, I know they cut back, what do they do, 2 mowings a year now?
Only 2?
Yeah,
What if you get a lot of rain?
then it grows a lot faster.
Oh my God, it's another fumble dumble.
Okay.
Huh?
Technical,
Yeah.
technical term.
Okay.
Yes, Chuck?
Can we look into the possibility of getting a sign identifying the former Ulster and Delaware Railroad?
You mean a historical marker?
Yeah. It's historical.
I don't see, you know, I guess.
Probably just some of them
Part of
were
it
here.
is identifying whoever we put this on.
I mean, I would think, again, if the county's moving ahead with the trail plan, then that's not a bad idea, is to have that on there, is recognizing the former trail, or former rail. Any other questions? Nope. With that, and, been quite a few passings this month.
Wow.
And, of note, Jake Rosa was a councilman over in the town of Middletown. He did not reside in the town of Shandaken, but he was a young man and was doing his civic duty, and sadly was lost way too early, leaving behind a young family, and we hope the best for him and his family. And also, our condolences go out to our highway superintendent who lost his father this month. And one of our, you know, 2 of our dear friends, Bob Grenny, who was a constable here and a policeman. You know, he lived up in the valley in Alveria for decades. I mean, people that still didn't even know he was alive still. God bless him. And Frank Stone, who passed away just recently, and was a friend to many of us and did a lot of work in a lot of good communities.
And Robert Jacobson, who was a sculptor in Mount Frederick.
Oh,
You had all the sculptures.
So I ask for a moment of silence in name of Robert Grenny, Harold Hoffmeister, Robert Jacobson, Richard Katchdorian, Jake Rosa, Franklin Stone, and Ray Whitaker.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
I-
Go Eagles! That was awesome.
Yeah. Greatest game ever.
Awesome.
Tomorrow is
Yeah, I did have the calendar right up. I realized that this is the smart time.
What's that?
I'm trying to get it out.
all right, well, I'll call you tomorrow.
That's why you're talking to me on the phone today, and the baby's, I was the baby's crying.
I don't think there's a conflict.
I just,
I don't know, he's the sheriff. He didn't hire me.
same?
I'll go up to it tonight.
Again in a couple of days.
For what?
Oh, Wednesday.
Yeah, the door will go.
Uh-oh.